Hi guys, coming at you today with a ranged DPS tier list for patch 9.1 Sanctum and Chains of Domination. To start off with, we're going to jump right in with Affliction Warlock, where everyone thought going into this tier it was going to be absolute garbage. No one was going to play this spec. It had been nerfed to the ground. Why play this spec when Demo and Destruction exist? There was absolutely no reason. However, as of recently, the mythic progression teams that are really pushing, who've already unlocked their full unholy shard sets and all of that, are making this class look absolutely godlike. Therefore, I'm going to put it in A tier, because while its heroic damage is lower, I think late game this class is going to be absolutely unstoppable, except by my next pick, which is Boomkin. Boomkin scales so incredibly well in the late game. Balanced Druid has insane damage already, even without the full tier set, even without the max rank Soulbind, and those are big sources of power for it, and even without the Unholy Shards. Boomkin right now is incredibly strong, and it's looking to only get stronger. This is one of the best raid classes you can bring. It's tanky, it does a lot of damage, probably one of the most damage dealing classes, ranged DPS classes in the game. And it also has self-healing, it has utility, it has CC for when you need it, like Kel'Thuzad, the ads, you can whirlwind them, vortex them I should say. Boomkin brings everything you want to a raid, and I highly, highly recommend that you have at least one or two on any raid team going forward in the future. Moving on, we're going to look at Arcane Mage, where everyone thought this was the god tier class. This was going to be the S tier class. And I don't think it's quite there. I don't think it's bad. I think it's better than Fire still. But maybe we just haven't gotten enough good players on it, but it doesn't feel like it's doing the same amount of damage that Frost is currently. Because of that, I'm going to leave it in the B tier, and I'm going to move Frost up to one above it to the A tier. Frost just adds more. You have a lot of fights that have multi-targets with a lot of good cleave, and while Arcane can be great at multi-target fights, Arcane doesn't bring the same level of funnel as Frost Mage does. Frost is one of the best funnel classes in the game. You get one target and you get three around, like one primary target and three secondary targets around it. Frost is going to be your top DPS almost every time. Boomkin's insane. It might beat it out. Starfall is so good. Starfire, all of that. But Frost Mage is definitely up there, and I think Frost Mage is our go-to mage spec right now. We could see turnarounds later as we get more secondary stats across Arcane, and Arcane does scale really, really well. But for now, I think Frost is beating it, and I think Frost will continue to beat it until the very, very late game. Going into Fire Mage, everyone thought this was dead after the nerfs, but we did see a couple of buffs right at the beginning of the patch, and I think that's knocked it up. Especially for one, like it's not a 1 minute burst class anymore. It's like a 1 minute 15 second burst class, but it's still pretty strong. But I don't think it's quite where Arcane is, so I'm gonna put it in C. But this is a high C. This is like a C and a half, like a B and a B minus, a C plus right there. Moving on, Elemental Shaman. Elemental Shaman has been doing quite well on the statistics, on the parses, the leaderboards, the damage, all of that good stuff. Elemental Shaman offers a lot in both flexibility as an AoE burst utility DPS, and it also offers really good single target. However, I don't think it's quite up to S tier. I think a lot of people thought it would be, and I don't think it's there. It doesn't scale as well as other classes do in the late game either. It's not bad, it's just not as good scaling as things like maybe Shadow Priest or Boomkin. But speaking of Shadow Priest, we're actually going to drop that just straight away into the S tier. Now, I know a lot of Shadow Priests right now are complaining after the nerfs, and they felt that the nerfs were not really needed because Shadow Priest has been underperforming. However, Shadow Priests had not hit their unholy domination set, socketed piece, like completed thing yet. Now that they are hitting that, they are absolutely dumpstering the single target meters. I'm talking 10k plus, just godlike damage. It's absolutely insane. Shadow Priest has that ability that even when they get nerfed, right? And they were nerfed. They were nerfed at the end of last patch. Well, I guess the beginning of this patch, and they were nerfed again after that. So they've received nerfs, but those nerfs were only about... I mean, it was big. It was like 7 to 8% damage. But they were so far ahead of everyone else at the end of last patch that Shadow Priest has just kind of evened out. And they still scale better than everyone else, so this class is going to still end up being one of the best, if not the best, single-target class in the game. I think Boomkin's comparable now, especially with the new Venthyr path. It's really, really good, whereas Convoke would hit a lot of targets. Shadow Priest has the ability to really single one target out, even if there are clumped ads around it. Therefore, I think Shadow Priest is probably tied with Boomkin. Doesn't have as much utility, but the damage, I think, is a little bit better. Absolutely S-tier class right now. Unquestionable, in my mind. Marksman Hunter. So, we were trash at the end of last year. The Marksman Hunters were pretty bad. But we've received buffs very handedly. It increased our damage by about 7-8%. The Unholy Shards work really well with our cooldowns. You can pretty much line up pretty consistently with the second Wild Spirits if you're Night Fae, or second, or fourth. Ooh, third? I don't know. Your Resonating Arrow is carrying though. But this class offers more burst AoE than any other class in the game. It's way better burst than Ellie Shaman, and it's instant. And we have a lot of Marksman Hunters who are staying or going back to Night Fae, or staying Night Fae if they were previously, who are picking up the new Lego that had been buffed, Elder Antlers. And this Lego makes Wild Spirits hit twice every time if it's 4 targets or less, right? Which is really, really strong if you're trying to delete a pack of 2, or a pack of 3, or a pack of 4. However, that Lego falls off tremendously when you hit 5 because it has 0 effect. It's like you're not even wearing a Lego. But there are a lot of fights with 4 ads, especially Sylvanas Windrunner. There's a lot of opportunity to get a good utilization out of this. And you can actually position your Wild Spirits in a way that it's only hitting 4 or 3 or ads whenever you have more. So it's really, really, really strong right now, and I definitely recommend picking up Marksman if you're interested in playing Hunter at all. I think it's... I think it's an S tier for its utility. Not utility, but you have the ability to turtle, and you have the ability to delete AoE packs on demand, and that is really valuable in some of these fights. Therefore, I would put Marksman up in the S tier. Beastmaster Hunter, very similar to Marksman. Very similar damage profile. However, I think it's a little underwhelming. The pet AI is always it's always so scuffed, right? I think the thing with Beastmaster is it can be really good if you're micromanaging your pets. But if you're not, and most people don't, even the top players sometimes get lazy about it, it's just not as good as Marksman. When Marksman and BM do comparable damage, Marksman almost always wins out because Marksman doesn't have to deal with the pet AI. And that's a big benefit. So therefore, I'm going to put this in A tier, but high A tier. Comparable to Marksman if you can really, really get utilization out of your pet. Alright, so moving on, we're going to go to Demonology Warlock. This class looked really good at the beginning, but has honestly fallen out pretty heavily. I would say this class is not nearly as good as we thought it was going to be. I think Affliction has definitely grown stronger than we thought it was going to be, and Demo has kind of gone back to that place that it was. I wouldn't play this if you can play any of the other Warlock specs. I think they're better. However, every raid needs a stable Warlock for health stones, so I would put this solidly in the C tier. I would put this above Fire Mage, though. I think for sure Fire Mage is worse than Demonology. Last but not least, Destruction Warlock. This class has seen a lot of damage over the last couple weeks. It's great for a lot of fights. Some of it is padding, especially on the balls in Painsmith. But the rest of it is just honestly pretty solid DPS profile. You have a lot of burst when you need it. You have the ability to, you know, really hit 2 targets at once, and a lot of these fights do have 2 targets. And for that reason, I think it's worse than Arcane, but I think it's very comparable. So I would definitely put Affliction above it. I would put Destruction and then Demonology, kind of in this order. Anyways, that wraps up my tier list for patch 9.1. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you agree, if you disagree, please let me know in the comments. If you wouldn't mind leaving a like or subscribe, it really helps me out a lot. It lets me kind of get on that YouTube algorithm, get in front of more people, and kind of share my thoughts. And you know, I really enjoy doing this, so I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And thank you so much if you made it to the end of the video. And if not, thank you for watching even just a little bit. Hope you guys are doing well, and peace out.